Yeah, take it.
Well, Lakshmi Cohen is here, and now. So now it's official. We could start. I'm Bobby Ira. And I knew Ira for a long time. We traveled together, and we loved each other like so many of you do with him. What I love about this, it's like an Ira Cohen love fest, because, he was so easy to love. Yeah. And I'll just tell you a little about how I decided to make the book. Someone who I don't remember who, sent me a manuscript, and in it I read Ira's prose, which I knew his poetry, I knew his photos, or I knew a lot of them, but the prose just knocked me out. And I decided, well, Ira is up there with in the pantheon of great artists, and a great adventurer, and a big heart, and smarter than just about everyone. And he was the repository of more knowledge than almost anyone. And he could talk forever, but his talk was always interesting. So, exactly. And so I saw this manuscript, and I thought, oh, I'll make a book. And it turns out that Ira and Jordan Zinovich, who some of you may know, many of you may know, spent 4 months working together on this manuscript. Jordan had made some money from an editing job, and he said, let's do it. And so they worked a lot, and they made the manuscript. They tried to get it published. It didn't happen. And then so I read it, and I decided to make it. And then Danny Rosen, who's my co-publisher on this one, of Lithic Press, he came in, as did Jamie Raisin, an old friend of Ira's, and my old friend from the 80s. And so we made this book. It took a long time. It was a lot of tribulations, and I screwed up in many ways, and I'm really sorry if I hurt people's feelings. But I think it's a book that Ira would have been proud of. Absolutely. And it's the exact manuscript. We used the same manuscript, so people were asking me, why didn't you include this or include that? This is the manuscript that Ira and Jordan Zinovich put together after 4 months, and so I didn't want to change anything. We modified things. Hopefully we made it a little better, and we put it together, and with Lithic Press's help, with Danny Rosen and Kyle Harvey, they make beautiful books, and that's the book we have. So, and I'm going to turn it over to Tate Swindell, who's going to be the MC tonight. Tate's a poet. I know him from San Francisco. He just organized the Bob Kaufman celebration in San Francisco last month. And here he is, Tate Swindell.
Ferry to Zania. It's already July 11th, around 4 a.m. We are on the Aptera, bound for Crete. The sky and sea mirror each other in total darkness. Even the North Star has disappeared. I am on the top deck. Almost no one is still here among the rows of bright orange plastic chairs held fast to the deck in rows of 12. I cannot sleep because my lap is Lakshmi's pillow. I have been reading Dallas by Philip K. Dick. The empire never ended, he writes, as horse liver fat. He has me going in circles with his theological arguments, his corollaries. 1, those who agree with you are insane. 2, those who do not agree with you are in power. Then, 1, some of those in power are insane. 2, and they are right. I listen to the hum of the ship's motors. Like the airplane heading for Romania, the ship seems to be still and humming, not moving, since not even a cloud is visible. Now the radios and tape recorders have been shut off. Before, a Greek song mixed with the infernal humming gave an impression of a haunting voice calling the world to prayer. I thought of singing songs of Mira. Imagine such a ferry, grand as this one, with its reflective silver ceilings below decks, floating in space, devotional songs coming over the loudspeakers. Suddenly it is timeless, and although we are mostly asleep, some remain awake, writing in notebooks, or prowling the deck in shawls or capes held at the throat. There goes someone with a large yellow towel. A woman sits alone smoking a cigarette. Now she holds herself. A soldier looks down at the foam churned up by the boat. Dinner is long over, and now we are pilgrims, voyagers once again, while the crowds stay hidden below decks. Now Lakshmi is my table. She looks up drowsily for a moment and says, I love you, Daddy. Go back to sleep, my little table. Can't you see that your pillow is writing? Ira Cohen. Yeah. So just to say the name, Ira Cohen conjures up many things. Ira Cohen, Ira Cohen, Ira Cohen. Filmmaker, photographer, poet, publisher, friend, father, raconteur, teddy bear. Yeah. Ira as the irascible student, playful teacher, playful student, irascible teacher. So we're here tonight to celebrate Ira in this book, Certain Kind of Wizard, Treasures from the Vaults of Ira Cohen. Published by Danny Rosen, Blithic Press, Bobby Yara, Golda Foundation. A beautiful, beautiful tribute. Beautiful graphic design work by Kyle Harvey. Many people were involved in making this. We mentioned Jordan Zinovich, Romy Ashby. Many hands fell among this for it to be here. I want to thank the Bowery Poetry Club, our good friend Bob Holman, Heath, Will, tip your bartenders, drink well. They're providing the space for us. It's great to have poetry spaces. Yeah. All that said, we're going to get right into it. Up first, we're going to have Karen Butcher, a collage artist and poet who met Ira in New York in 1993 through Hamid Idrisi and was friends with him until his passing. Please welcome Karen Butcher.
Thank you. Thank you so much. The storyteller for Ira. The ghost with tattoos came to dinner. His beard stained with tobacco, smiled and told stories, inspired our imaginations. What do his lips look like? Does he sleep? Exactly how old is he, anyway? The tattoos are bleeding blue-black lines into skin. Did it hurt, leaving those blue Moroccan skies to become compartmentalized in this gray urban landscape, uncertain of future encounters? Smoke surrounding the grandfather Buddha reminds us to keep the pipe lit. Words burning the page ignite the mind. Interest is held even when we don't know what he's talking about. His voice, a deep trembling in our chests, there but not there, coming up through our feet from the center of the earth. Inescapable in his presence, we listen. His eyes, a gentle mix of laughter and pain, provide the familiar comfort of knowing while penetrating our hearts with questions. How will this story end? This Sufi spirit has set us spinning, and from the vortex, we extend a hand. Touch is essential for reaching completion.
One more time for Karen Butcher, please. Next up, we're going to have Hamid Idrisi, who is an amateur poet who was encouraged by his Jewish adoptive dad, Ira Cohen. Please welcome Hamid to the stage.
Where is Ira? Okay, I see it. Pass the joint. Okay. I'm sorry, the light is a little bit here. I'm so sorry. I didn't know all growing old. We're not old, we're just getting seasoned.
Talk into the mic, please.
Okay. The forbidden hashish zone. O Ira, shrouded in velvet smoke, you ascended the spiral stairs. Allah winked at Satan, marking fate everywhere. As I melt hashish in purified butter, ras al-hanout and honey, to craft ma'joon, I travel under pole balls, sheltering skies into deserts, mystic air. This separation is unfair. It's the real nightmare. As Shukri needs flour to prepare his naked bread alone, I hold your poem in early morning like opium prayer, putting our brain in deep fryer, feeding hashish candy to night's creeps, not a snooze nor a rest, tagine dining our nest. The pale moonlight seeps, stars shine bright in silence so soft and deep. I dive through my hormone-fogged mind to map and sweep. Even the darkness I leap. I whisper to Ginsberg and Burroughs, wake up, enough sleep. Let's all weep for Ira's spirit, my Jewish dad, forever I keep. Star shine bright in silence so soft, so deep. Aisha Kandisha spirit in light, ball of your honor. I light this ball for in your honor as I should. I fog offering to irreverent us, our whole world but a piece of hash. We puff, exhale, and blow, and let them all know where we are chasing that thread thin of smoke. God took your life, savagely forfeited my ink, my paper, my pens, and I married his wife, his mad wife. I began to write with a bloody knife. I am no poet, I am just a nerd who worships my golden holy turd. Faithfully as I flee God's word, I turn around and proudly I flip the bird.
One more time from Hamid Idrisi. So this next poet is a very good friend of mine, Valery Ostianu. I'm excited for him to read. Valery's a poet, writer, and artist, born in the USSR in 1943 and educated in Romania. He adapted Dada and Surrealism as a philosophy of life and art in the early 1960s and immigrated to New York City in '72. He has authored 20 books of poetry, the recipient of the Kathy Ack Award in 2013 for contribution to the American avant-garde and poetry performance. He takes part in theatrical and other poetry musical collaborations with jazz artists from around the world and sessions he dubs jazzoetry. Please welcome Valery Ostianu.
Thank you. So, a little bit of Ira's voice. It's not happening, but I'm not giving up.
Don't give up.
Yeah, I don't know how to do it. I'm so bad at this. All right, maybe you can do it.
Valery Ostianu is the only living Romanian who irons his pith helmet every day. He lives on the second floor of a nuclear sub in a disappearing gallery. He blows his nose with Marcel Duchamp, spends his Halloweens with Tuli Kupferberg. He knows that German expressionism results from excessive toilet training, and laughs when fear grips his soul. His hair grew so long it surpassed Bucharest, could not be arrested by the police. Finally, it was cut in a museum and televised in bottles. A dangerous announcer who keeps even fingers on their toes.
So I'm going to read two poems that were published during his lifetime and one after. So this is from a book called Temporary Immortality, and it's called Ira Cohen Logorrhea. Maybe his sexual aggressiveness comes creeping out of the dark alleys of jazz. Welcome to the artist-poet gem of one. I don't fix the holes in my pocket because I don't want to sew my balls to my pants. I'd rather float in a hologram, lying in a bathtub with his toes protruding upwards. Yes, he will travel with a caravan of 20 dromedaries to a harem on Percodan, to an opium boudoir with insomniac nightmares. There is a surprise in a trance room, a naked woman dancing flamenco, but he says no, no thank you. No to free salty love? When you are going to wake up, machine gun talking Jew? But he knows, yes, he knows the mysteries of river Styx, bouncing off the water, flowing away from good and evil, hauntingly moving from surreal days to Dada nights. He opens the medicine chest of Sufi aperitif, hygienic cooking, monastic life, meditational clouds of herbs in a room full of ghosts. Faye, Angus, Julian, Tully, Piero, Abby, Jack Smith, they are transparent with heavy wings. Old Clown Wanted. Yes, Old Clown Wanted reads the announcement. The aging bohemian with his boxes full of envelopes schleps to the appointed rendezvous, bringing a wicker valise full of memories and photographs. He bends over his slides, laughter subsides, he hypnotizes an invisible snake. Omnia mea me comporto, all that I own, I carry with me. And this is from another book called Anarchy for a Rainy Day. And this is sort of to the end of his life, our last conversation on the phone. And it's called Shamanic Blues to Ira Cohen. What's next? Whispers Ira while becoming invisible. Scream no more from unquenched fate. We'll see you on the other side. A Jewish shaman walks away while the big flutes are silent. The extinct cactus remains still. The bells are thunderstruck. Our holy man of the straw mats melts benignly into the molecular earth after an endless battle with himself. A distorted shadow in search of Ganesh Baba. From Chelsea all the way to Kathmandu, 365 steps up to the temple Swayambhu. Kumbh Mela, traveler welcomed by sadhus, blowing a didgeridoo, just convulsions with patent magic mushrooms, psychedelic, carnal, lovers evaporating, disappearing on a magic carpet to the Kasbah, lamenting in a subground Ethiopian churches, following the holy wind into the desert, eating Majun, riding the sunset, tormented musicians of Jujuka, helter-skelter from Tangier to Crete. Where is next, Boyjik? What is next? What's hip? Poetry shrunk down to tiny crumbs, fair-fetched nightmares. No, no more. An avalanche of absurd nothingness. Ishkadal veiskadash moraba. Sufi in Ira's coffee. Shiva in Ira's tea. Buddha in his wife. Yahweh in his tap water. Last chillum for the trance hypnosis. The king of Thunderbolt succumbs to sleep. Thank you very much. I am Valerie Oistiano.
Valerio Estiano, everybody. So Valerie and I share some very special poet friends. That's how I met Ira, through Harold Norris and Ronnie Burke out in San Francisco many years ago. And one thing that struck me about Ira was Harold had lived in the same place for a very long time and moved to an assisted living facility. He was about 20 years older than Ira. And not many people came and visited him. You know, it could be isolated for an old queer poet. And Ira did when he came to town and spent time with him. And it was playful. They talked Morocco, Paris, the old times, and it really sparked something in Harold. So that was Ira, a true friend. Up next, we have Lila Derboha, a poet of Ukrainian immigrants on the Lower East Side, born of Ukrainian immigrants on the Lower East Side of Manhattan, currently working on writing a book about her experiences in the war zones of Ukraine. Please welcome Lila.
All right. So, the bow is for Ira, of course. And I'm going to be reading excerpts of a very long conversation I had with Ira in the late 80s or early 90s. I could figure that out, but it takes too much time. The whole conversation lasted 61 double-spaced pages, but I carved it down into 10 minutes for tonight. And it's about his creative process, specifically utilizing cut-ups. And this took place in his living room, in the apartment that he lived his entire life. It was his mother's apartment. Lakshmi grew up there. And I like to come often, but I had a serious job. I worked as an editor, and you know, like I balanced it, let's say. But we found a time when nobody would be there, just me and Ira, and he liked to sit in that big chair. It kind of looked like a throne in the living room, but it was really grandmother's old-fashioned chair. And he'd be sitting there, and I'd like to sit at his feet, actually, a lot, because, you know, I needed to get close, and there's no chair that can get that close. So I'd rather, like, be at his knees and, like, look there, and I brought, you know, a recorder, and then we talked and talked and talked, and I recorded it and transcribed it and edited it. So this is how it goes. So I had done some cut-ups after first meeting Brian Geisen in Paris in 1961. Brian was proselytizing the cut-up method a lot when I saw him in those first days in Paris. And Burroughs was just coming out with his cut-up works. And Harold Norris was experimenting with the cut-up in his hotel room in the Beat Hotel, where they were all staying. They had done Minutes to Go with Gregory Corso and Brian and William Burroughs. And I can't remember who else was in it, but a couple of other, maybe one or two other people. There was a great manifesto there by Brian in the beginning of Minutes to Go. That was incredible. That is the thing I remember most about Minutes to Go, which is what gave the thing its title, like there are only minutes to go. So this other cut-up stuff was in the air in Paris at that moment when I arrived, and then I got into it a little bit myself. And then I came down to Tangier. The main technique that Brian and William were pushing, and William especially, as a prose writer, it made another kind of sense, was to fold the pages into 3 columns, then shift them, one column on one sheet against another column on another sheet, and make combinations. William, who was later declared a clear by the Dianetics people, this is actually very interesting, because the Dianetics people, they focus on clearing mental blocks. So a clear, this is aside from what Ira is saying. I had to do some research because I didn't know what clear meant by the Dianetics people. So a clear, their whole point is to achieve a state of clear in any given life. And the Dianetics people declared William a clear. Very interesting. So William, who was later declared a clear by the Dianetics people, had no emotional problem with just running that straight through like a computer and letting that stand. Perhaps he also, at times, did not make certain selections, but he was pretty wide open to all the texts that he would get, I think, and used a lot of them. But whatever degree of selection, I don't know exactly, and some things obviously worked better than others. When Mel Clay came to me with certain writings of his in Tangier after Gnawa came out, which I had a lot of cut-up material in, of Williams and things related, like Brian Geison's Pipes of Pan pieces, which is not about the cut-up, but was his, baby. Somewhere, the music of the Jujuka musicians creates the natural mental climate to deal with cut-up, you see. There's something about the effect of those rituals and that trance music and the music of Pan. If you're sitting, working in an alchemical laboratory of cutting up, it would be a good kind of music to play. William was, in fact, listening to some of this music somewhere around that time, because a friend of mine, Peter Birnbaum, and Henry went up and brought the Jujuka musicians down into Tangier for a concert. There were some tapes made, and William, I know, used to listen to those tapes all the time on earphones when he was working. So when Mel came to see me with his writings after Gnawa had come out, there was also a wonderful cut-up piece in there by Stuart Gordon called Can Crab Hermits Develop Language? Shall it freely be? It's a wonderful cut-up piece with a totally distinctive style, different from anything that any other cut-up artist did. I think of it as an absolute jewel. Each person really works with it in a different way. There are poets like, I feel that John Ashbery may have worked with cut-ups. A lot of poets have worked with cut-ups, but they don't advertise it because it's just part of what you do in the laboratory of your mind. You don't have to explain everything and how it came about. What's the point? If the work is fresh enough, and the time that we live in now, which is even a time of absolute appropriate, where that's considered okay, the subtle rearrangements of words and patterns, like as a great collage. When Mel came to Paris, I asked him if he ever tried cutting up his work. He wanted to know what I meant, so I had to explain it to him. Once I did, we started collaborating together, cutting up his work and my work and other things that were lying around that I felt, a desire to pull in. It might be a copy of National Geographic describing some underwater life, and somewhere a little of that imagery would get sort of spliced in like an exotic spice. Other times, I would use other things. I was reading a book about Houdini, and then I had certain texts where I referred to a character named the Majun Traveler, and had a certain piece that involved that idea. I tried especially to work in certain proper names. I tried to work in some proper names so that it would give it another kind of a narrative possibility, so that there could be characters coming in and out of this other stuff. We did this over a certain period of time. We took a lot of Majun and got very spaced out and listened to music. I was in a room with tiles all over the floors and all over the walls in a Moroccan house with a table and a typewriter, an old typewriter. Mel and I could take turns for as long as we just felt the breath to last, to sit there and type. So it might be half a page of single space stuff that would come out of whatever the cut-up techniques were being used by Mel or myself. And the one thing was that I introduced the idea of a sieve. I don't think it was purely my own invention. I think Brian referred to it in passing, in conversation, maybe along with the idea of how the scissors cutting up the words, single words or just a few words, and throwing them in a hat and pulling them out and making poems out of that. There was the column idea, and perhaps he also suggested this idea. It's taking an 8x10 piece of paper, if that's what you're working on, and you just fold it in 3 vertical columns. Then, if you wanted to, I guess you can cut them along those lines and then move them around. If you did that with 20 pages of your writing or any other text that you decide to stick, and then you start manipulating, say column 1 from page 2, and putting that next to column 3 on page 8, then you just read it straight across. Some places, it's going to be jerky jump cuts. But, of course, the mind is pretty capable of jumping. If you read something that had no kind of real sequitur, it creates its own sequitur. So, if Burroughs had written certain things about himself and then was shifting those columns, the fact that it was coming from a certain source, a single source, is a way of recombining all the elements. But they would all have to work together. And even secret things hidden within those thoughts, expressed in a more conventional way, as we learn to speak and construct sentences and have ideas, that pattern gets somehow crashed and broken through the recombinations. And then very interesting and incredible things can happen. Can happen. Suddenly, you get something that comes out. Dust was a good combining word. It would suddenly be dust on one side, and on the other side was owl dust or harp dust. It was a Kabbalistic technique, I guess you could say. Irving Rosenthal saw it as Kabbalistic and somehow renounced it for that reason, saying, this is magic, not writing. He had his particular attitude. We discussed this at some point. Irving, having been a major editor of Burroughs's Naked Lunch, in the final edition, he did the editing of that work before it was published by Grove Press. We were talking about Burroughs in this way, and Irving also had an extreme attitude of what would be referred to as purity. I found that it tended to be rather unproductive and too extreme as an idea. And what was the point of it? But the idea would be that each person had one thing in them. And after that, they were doomed to repeat themselves. And probably to do it less well. But I never believed that, actually. I see his point, and I could recognize it, but I thought it was, hey, I mean, if we only had the first book, as good as it might have been, and any great writer who went on to do things, and people grow and all of that. Anyway, I don't know if even we really believed it, or I don't know if he really believed it or believes it. But that was a certain attitude. So he was committed to Naked Lunch and felt that somehow William, going on, doing further and further cut-ups, was kind of going into a Kabbalistic snail shell or something that he felt was sort of more cabal. He was suspicious of it. So, for me, the effect of that, of working with cut-ups, the cut-up experiment, probably altered my whole consciousness. I feel that the cut-up is always somehow with me. It's something that, having absorbed it, changed something in my way of approaching writing.
Once again, for Lila de Bloha, please. I'm really glad that that piece mentioned Gnawa. That was something Ira published in Morocco in the early 60s. It had all the heavyweights in it at the time. Burroughs, Geisen, Philip Lamantia under Nom de Plume, and the first excerpt from Harold's Cut Up Sniffing Keyholes. And just so you know, Ira's influence on popular culture, if you all know Bob Dylan's album cover for Bringing It All Back Home, if you look at the mantelpiece there, you'll see a copy of Gnawa up there on there. So, you know, he was very influential in pop culture. Next up, we have Timothy Baum. Renowned poet, essayist, collector, and expert in Dada and Surrealism. Please welcome Timothy Baum.
From above, I don't need the cane, right? Like it lured. Yeah. Should I adjust this? All right. I mean, it's sort of adjust. Is that cool? I know. Yeah. All right. All right. Yeah. I know I'm cool, but anyway. No, that's right. No, it just scared me a little bit. I'm just going to tell you how I met Ira, because it's a different kind of story. So I once visited a couple. They're a bit older than I was, and but we had a connection. And they had gone to Cornell with Ira when he had his time there, and I had just split up with a wife. And they had this girl who they thought I would really like. So I went, and we had something to eat. And the guy was pretty cool. And he had great admiration for Ira. So we started talking, and the conversation just kept going on. And finally, this couple, they weren't night owls, so around 10 o'clock or 10:30, they said, it was great having you, and maybe you guys, you know, who knows, you know, well, I knew. But anyway, so I had a little car called a Morris Minor, and this girl, this was all up in the Upper East Side, the girl lived on the West Side. So I said I could drive you home. So as we were going through the 79th Street transverse, she said, boy, you really like to talk, don't you? And I said, it's not a bad habit. She said, yeah, but I mean, nobody else got a word in. I said, nobody else said anything. Well, she said, guess what? I know a guy that could make you almost silent. And I said, I'm very happy to be silent. I'm, you know, I don't mind silence at all. Yeah, you know everything. Wait till you meet this guy. I said, all right, cool. So when can I meet him? Now. I said, no, I take it back. She said, I'll arrange it. I said, let's go and meet him now. And she said, you want to meet him now? He lives way downtown in a loft, you know, near one of the bridges. And I said, I have the car. So we drove all the way down, and we got there. And and I think Ira was one of the first people to live way downtown near the bridges, etc. So we got out of the car, and she said, "Ira, Ira," and the head came out of the window. It's Arlene. Oh, I couldn't think of her name. Arlene. Oh, Arlene. Okay, cool. So he threw the keys out the window, and we got in, and we went up to this loft, and in the entryway, it was all big plants in there. It was pretty cool. And then at the end of the hall was Ira. And I was, he looked good. I don't know when this was, but somebody could probably figure it out. I'll tell you why in a moment. But anyways, a long time ago. I mean, really a long time ago. So we met, and the lady he was with sort of disappeared with the other one, so that was good. So then Ira and I were able to really get to know each other, and we started talking about a lot of things, and we had a lot in common. We went through the same precious school, but some years apart. And for him, it was a great part of his education. For me, it was a pain in the ass because I couldn't stand the place. But I mean, for Ira to go there, called Horace Mann School. So he was there as a scholar, and I was there on a wrestling scholarship. He was the only sport I could do at my height, and I was pretty good at it. But I couldn't stand the school, but it's okay. I hung out with the wrestlers, and I graduated. But Ira, he won the Greek prize, and then other prize. He graduated, I think, at 16, and then he went to Cornell. So we're talking about our lives, and then I was in Mexico once, and I met some guy who was sort of on the holy kind of level, and he had been taught by a guy who was Ira's guru called Richie. Anybody know about Richie? Well, according to Ira, Richie was like the smartest fucking guy of all. And, we all admire Ira for being pretty smart. For him, Richie. So this guy that taught or took me and two other friends up on top of a very small mountain, and we camped out and everything, and he said, you guys, I'm going to really teach you a lot of stuff. And so that was okay. I mean, he wasn't, Mexican, but he was cool. And the only thing I remember about that guy was that he said, "So you're a poet?" And I said, "Yeah." He said, "Yeah, well, I'm a poet also." I said, "Well, that's good." He said, I prefer to live the poetic experience, but anyway. So he gave me on sheets of yellow paper from a yellow pad some of his poems. They were really bad. But the only one I really liked was about his guru, the guy that Ira shared with him called Richie. And the whole poem said, "Richie is a saint, we ain't." Right? So I said, but I mean, oh, wow, Richie's a saint. Anyway, back to that night. So Ira and I, we talked all night. And, I was still married, actually. I was a naughty boy there. But it was towards the end. But I had this little son, and I had to get up to take him to school. And suddenly, the sun was coming out. I said, "Oh, shit, I got to get uptown." Arlene was sleeping on a couch, for the last several hours, so she was cool. And then I said, "Ira, man, I hate to stop because we go out to Ratner's or something and have great breakfast." He said, "Well, no, I sort of have a lot to do." I said, "Okay." I said, anyway, I'll call you in a couple of days. And he said, but by then we really loved each other. We were hugging at farewell. And I said, I'll call you in a couple of days and I'll come down earlier. He said, I'm going to India tomorrow. And I said, oh no, Jesus, because he was the most exciting person. And there were other exciting people around then. I don't know, late 60s, 70s, whatever. You know, there were more than today by my standards. But anyway, I'm going to India tomorrow. Oh man, I've never been so depressed in my life. And meanwhile, I had to drive this Arlene home. And so in short, he went to India the next day.
Okay, now, you too.
What?
You went with him?
What?
You went with him?
No. I didn't go with him because he had, no. I would have gone with him, but I had to take the kid to school, you know? And not just once. But the kid loved Ira too, you know, so that was good. So anyway, many years went by, and I was in one university place with the goddaughter of Paul Eluard, who was, as Valerie and I know, one of the really great surrealist poets. And this lady was really gorgeous. And I was, you know, unlike Arlene, I was pretty, you know, happy to be with her. And we were just there with a couple other people. And all of a sudden, this couple came in, and it was a very dashing Ira, and with him was Carolina, Lakshmi's mother, and Carolina with glitter and with a scent that you could smell very happily all through the restaurant, and Carolina was really like a queen, and Ira was very proud, and they went all the way back to the last table. And I asked a couple of people, you have any idea who those people are? No, and then somebody, I don't know who it was, said, that's Ira Cohen. I said, Ira Cohen? Oh, fuck, man, excuse me. I've been waiting years to see this guy again. So even though this lady was, you know, very nice to be with, I said, excuse me. And I went back and tapped him on the shoulder, and he's, yes. And I said, Ira? Yeah, Timothy. Oh, man. Oh, that's so cool. I said, now we can finish our conversation. And he said, absolutely. And this is Carolina, blah, blah, blah. So that was how I met Ira. And so I now have the choice of leaving it there or, you know, just saying that our friendship, well, I could say a little more. So we were never unconnected again, and we did a lot of wonderful things together, and I was one of his favorite people to photograph because I would do anything he asked. So I was telling somebody earlier that as an example of that was that we were once in the park and I had a bicycle, and we went by the Alice in Wonderland statue, and Ira said, oh, listen, and it was after the school time, so all the mothers and children were there around the Alice in Wonderland statue. So Ira said, okay, what I want you to do is put the bicycle down on the ground and then lay there like you fell out of the sky. Like Mr. Bean. Mr. Bean? Yes. Okay, so, all right, whatever you want me to do. I almost drowned once in Key West when we went to visit Raphael for the first time when he was about 15, because Ira had me do some little stunt in the water where a boat almost ran over me. So that was, and I have that photograph. I was snorkeling, but he said, just do this like you're a dolphin or something. Dolphin, this goddamn boat almost ran over me. But the bicycle time was, that was a little more serious because I'm laying there like I'm dead and with the bicycle, So one of the mothers, of course, called 911, and there were no, and that meant going to the boathouse to the payphone. There were no cell phones. So, and Ira, no, stay there. He's taking all these pictures, and all of a sudden the police cars came. All right, what's going on? And Ira said he got hit by the bicycle. Really? The bicycle drove itself. So they said, well, you okay? I said, yeah, I think so. So the police helped me up, and I faked it. Like, now it's real. I got this thing. But anyway, but that was just the photographing side of our lives. But in general, my kids, grew up sort of, adoring him and learning from him. And then I watched Lakshmi, from the time she was a baby, etc. So I guess I'll just finish by saying that I was with Ira the day before he passed away, and I went to this place where he was, and they made me put on a whole kind of suit, a sanitary kind of suit, and gloves and everything, because he had gone through all that horror with bed bugs, which really did not make his life happy at all in those last years. But they somehow felt that a bed bug had come out of his beard. And Ira was his last day. I mean, he wasn't worrying about bed bugs, or he was just there, sort of making himself ready, I suppose. And so we sat, and I just held his hand, and he patted mine, and that was that.
Once again, give it up to Timothy Baum. Just so you all know, there's an amazing, one of the greatest shows I've ever seen in my life. I felt lucky to come out from San Francisco and stumble upon this thing. Surrealist and Dada show up at Didana, Madison, and like 64th or so. One of the greatest shows I've ever seen in my life. I wept. Like, it's got everybody. You mentioned Eluard, Jacques Prévert, Breton, Man Rays that'll make you weep. Max Ernst in the corner. That Max Ernst and Danny and I, we could have stood there for hours looking at that thing. It's just unbelievable. Unbelievable. Yeah. Please go. Please go. It's up till the end of June. Please go. He wrote the intro for the book. D-Donna up on Madison, 64th? 64th, 66th, 5th, 64th between. Please go. Please go. It's mind-blowing. It's mind-blowing. Ondi McMaster is an artist who awakened into a magnificent dream in 1992 after walking in to an opening of a photo exhibition by Ira Cohen. Please welcome Ondi McMaster.
I just want to say one thing. Ira's presence was huge, but his absence is vast. So I want to read just a couple of pieces from Chaos and Glory. This is just a small book from Ellic Press. Came out in 2004. And he wrote to me in the intro, he said, "This is for you, direct from my hand."
Closer to the mic.
On the first day of issue. So there's also just this beautiful picture in here by Marco Baker. We all love this picture. And this was done in 2004 also at the time of this small press book. So I'm just going to read two pieces. There's so many beautiful pieces in here. It kind of documents his trip to Cambodia with Marina and some other earlier pieces. There's a lot of short pieces in here. So the first one I want to read is called Cat's Cradle. Last night I was writing a long poem on the ceiling in invisible ink about the shadow of truth, and the difficulty of carrying a lit candle through tunnels of wind. What is manufactured consent except history which remains impossible to conceive except as a karmic joke? Once on a dark night full of glittering stars above the Coromandel coast, I looked up to see the sympathetic strings, red and blue, which held the sky together by natural law. I have never seen them since, but I know they are still there. February 21st, 2004. The next. A true samurai wants to die for loyalty. Skeletons too require love and desire to rule the world. On television, skeletons are everywhere, proclaiming naked propaganda. You would think the dead knew better, yet hungry ghosts seek fullness, while enlightened souls rise out of emptiness. True food is illusory. Working at the Buddha factory, I dreamt that one day I would be free. July 26, 2004. And in the spirit of Ira, let me just read one more. So, let's see. Okay. The third, waking hologram. If you break a hologram on a glass plate, every fragment will contain the whole. In this fashion, I suppose, every cell of my body bears my face. Every memory contains my life's trajectory. In this way, I am, actually, page by page, line by line, word by word, my own book walking around in a world where very few people can read. January 9th, 2004.
One more time for Ondi McMaster. Shiv Mirabito is a poet who began writing as a teenager, living on Allen Ginsberg's farm. Shiv is the publisher at Shivasan Press, which publishes limited editions on handmade paper in Kathmandu, Nepal since 1997. And also has a queer poetry and occult spirituality bookshop called the Woodstock Shivastan Poetry Ashram in Woodstock, New York. Please welcome Shiv Mirabito.
Yes, Ira was a great inspiration to all of us. When I met him 35 years ago, he inspired me to spend every winter in Kathmandu. He inspired me to start a press printing poetry on handmade paper in Nepal and called Shivastan Press. Now we have over 70 publications. And also to organize poetry events. I have a small bookshop in Woodstock, New York. Please come by, the Shivastan Poetry Ashram Bookshop. And we have weekly poetry events, so please come. I published a book of Ira's, all in his selected poems in his handwriting, 2003. I have a bunch of current books. This one's by me, Uncle Scallywag, Diane DePrima, and this is one I just published, Compassion Revolution. I was gonna read the one that Andy just read, called, A True Samurai Wants to Die for Loyalty, and I made a special poster that I'm gonna give everybody here, so if I didn't give you one yet, let me know. So also, Andy is a really great fashion designer. She designed this beautiful shirt that I'm wearing tonight. And so anyways, we all loved Ira. I loved Ira. He was a great inspiration. I'm going to read a poem I wrote right after he passed away called Insider Outsider for Ira Cohen. When we first met with the Kathmandu set on a sunny day in Woodstock, You explained the joy and the pain of publishing poems on handmade paper in Nepal in the 70s. And you inspired me to start my Shivastan press in Nepal in the 90s and to continue the creative tradition you and Angus and Hetty started, Bardo Matrix, Star Streams, Dream Weapon, the Spirit Catcher Bookshop, all now as rare as opalescent vulture's teeth and 1,000-year-old unicorn eggs. A book is a beautiful thing. You name-dropped me an avant-garde education. Bowles, Burroughs, Geisen, Ziprin, and Corso. Midget, Malanga, and Maclise. Paul Babes, Little Ira, Ganesh Baba, Jack Smith, and Penny Arcade. Valley, Debbie Harry, Chris Stein, and Joey Ramone. Peter Lamborn Wilson, Louise Landis Levi, Janine Pame Vega, Charles Henry Ford, and Indra, etc., etc., etc. Morocco, Amsterdam, New York, Kathmandu, Italia, Ethiopia, Angkor Wat, and Timbuktu, too. Now that the translucent psychedelic opium bubble swirling on the edge of time has burst, may the purple shadow of your poetry never diminish in size. Your work will forever live in the Akashic records of eternity. Born of parents who could not speak, you never stopped speaking, or creating, or writing, and I tried to devour every golden razor-tongued word. You were absolutely right when you screamed at me on the phone, "You don't know anything!" Was the Bat Palace really Shangri-La? Why did Mataji cry on that houseboat on the Ganga in Benares? Was the Bardo Matrix Press really financed by the CIA and King Birendra of Nepal? Why did the silently smoking sadhu hold his arm in the air for 12 years? How many million pilgrims shit at the Kumbh Mela? How did Paul Bowles make love to a Moroccan? How did William Burroughs make electricity from dead cats? Was Mylar photography really inspired by butterflies' wings? Did the secret caverns below the self-arisen stupa really connect to Lhasa? How big were those roses in Beer Singh's garden? What did Jack Smith's bejeweled lair really look like? How did Valley get all those tribal tattoos? How many topless angels can dance on the head of your pen? Has the gold dust in your squid ink finally faded? Does the one-legged blind beggar really cry for you? Is it true that whatever you say may be held against you. If Groucho Marx said you had an ethereal body, would you hold it against him? Thank you.
One more time, give it up for Shib Mirabito. I just want to acknowledge real quick Ira's other two children who are not here tonight, David and Raphael. I don't know David at all, but he's been very kind to me in the work that I've done. Danny did a killer Jack Micheline book, and we used a couple Ira's photos in there, and he graciously let me use them. So I just want to acknowledge them. Next up, we have Chris Frail, founder of the Downtown World Pop Orchestra Church of Betty and indie music label Fang Records. He knew Ira through his wife Penny Arcade and enjoyed his company immensely. Ira did some spoken word pieces with Church of Benny over the years. Please welcome Chris Rail.
Oh, hi. I'm just going to share a few memories because I loved Ira. I think a lot of us gathered here tonight knew him longer and better than I did. I met him in 1998 through Penny, and I was always a huge admirer of his poetry and his photographs and his films. Straw Mats is very special to me, as I shared his love for the subcontinent. But I came to understand more about what he did, like after he was gone, you know, sort of in chunks, like over recent years. Just what an extraordinary life the man led. It was just vast life, you know, everywhere he went, everyone that he knew, what he did, what he made, what he brought back from his adventures to make these incredible works of art that were here for all of us. And in the years that I knew him, as much as I adored him, I never fully understood who I was in the room with. You know, and this really all kind of came to a head for me with a certain kind of wizard, which is not only a triptych through Ira, but like through the whole world that he explored and what he brought back for all of us. And I just feel so blessed to have known him. And I did get to make art with him. As Tate was like saying, my group Church of Betty was like sort of based around sitar and tabla, and my tabla partner Deep Singh and I would do spoken word and music performances, both with Ira and with his very close friend Marty Matz. And the two of them were so different, and it was always so much fun. Like Marty, he had a very rhythmic soul, and he loved to recite in cadence to the beat of the music, which made it feel a lot like doing a song with a singer. Like with Ira, we would sort of create sound beds, you know, sort of like sonic atmospheres, a little lighter on the rhythm to sort of function as like a soundtrack so that he could just recite conversationally, which was more his style. They were both really different, but both really wonderful. And I'll just leave you guys with a memory that I have of Ira being at our apartment one time. And I don't remember what I was saying to him. It was like either a plan for something fun we were going to do, or it was a loving thought at just the right moment where it clicked for him. But whatever it was, I somehow delighted him. And you know, he could be like a pretty edgy guy, you know, and I just wasn't used to just seeing him just kind of open up. His eyes got like really round and big, and he got like all luminescent, and like he like leans over with a big beard, and he kisses me on the mouth, and like there's nothing erotic about it. It was just like pure affection, and I just wanted to share that when Ira was happy, You know, like when you could make him happy, he just like lit up the world, you know, and all this this shiny energy that informed the art that he made for us was just there for all to see, and that's how I like to remember him. Thank you.
Chris, one more time for Chris Rail. That's beautiful. Baba, you're here, right? You ready to go? Excellent. All right. I'm loving this. All right. Baba Israel, Baba Ben Israel, hip-hop artist and theater artist, raised in the living theater. Ira was like an uncle, and from an early age, Baba saw him as a wizard. Baba is the artistic director of the Performance Project at University Settlement and co-creator of Cannabis, a Viper Vaudeville. Please welcome Baba Ben Israel.
How's everyone doing? Great. How are you doing? I'm fucking going crazy every fucking day. I don't know about you. Hello, Andy. I mean, I'm trying to keep it together, but I'm waking up anxious. I'm going to sleep anxious. It's good to see Lakshmi here, and I'm thinking about Ira. And when I think about Ira, I think about my dad, and that's really helpful because they had a beautiful friendship, and they teach me something about the longevity of friendship. And how friendship can extend and expand and deepen. Hi, Penny. Good to see you. And Lakshmi, it's good to see you because we are fellow children of the counterculture, which is a complicated and beautiful experience that I will process for the rest of my breathing life. One thing that I thought about walking up here is my dad used to say, do you know about the willies? Do you guys know about the willies? You know about the willies? Have you ever felt the willies? The willies when the bottom of your asshole boop, drops down. Yeah. And then you start to laugh, and then something starts to open, and you realize we're not broken. And in the rhythms of the words spoken, we can open some other possibility besides the fascistic hostility that is coming to us. We can trust in the beauty of a gentle phrase, in the beauty of sound. And so I had this moment right now where I just wanted to say together, Ira, Ira. Now this next one, let's take that like all the way to like Avenue C. Ira. Help me out. Ira. My heart beats. Growing up in a little apartment on Grand Street, just down that way, and I remember when my dad would say, Ira's coming over. And I remember being 5, 6 years old, getting excited, because Ira was not afraid to talk to me, even though I was a child. And Ira knew somehow that I really had this romantic feeling about Ira as this traveler, as this seeker. It's okay, you can talk, but maybe not. And there was a real sense that when he would come over, there was a sense of ceremony, a sense of ritual, and he often brought me little gifts from his travels. And I'm sure, who else has got an Ira gift stash? Maybe several, maybe too many. Oh, yeah. I've got a box full. A box full, right? These treasures. That he often shoplifted. There was a compulsion there. Maybe it was an anti-capitalist act. And I really just feel such gratitude that Ira instilled in me a sense of spiritual curiosity, a sense that we are part of a world, that we're not just from a certain block, you know? I mean, I remember finding out that his cousin was the mayor. That fucking blew my mind. I remember, I think he's here, I saw him earlier. I remember one time I was at the Fez. Do you guys remember the Fez at Time Cafe? And it was a poetry reading, and I'm about to go up, and I'm like, you know, in my early 20s, trying to step into being a poet. And I remember one thing that was beautiful, too. I was in SUNY Purchase, which I eventually dropped out of after taking acid, which happens. It happens. But I sent some of my poetry that I was working on, and Ira took the time to write me back and to give me notes and to give me feedback. and I felt very seen and acknowledged. So this night I'm stepping into the fez and I'm like gonna read a poem, and then all of a sudden Ira hands me a majun. Anyone else get handed a majun by Ira? You made it. And you made that majun. Yes. This man right here made it. I was wondering where you were. You made it.
Guilty of charge.
Yes. And I had never eaten a majun before. And I ate the whole thing.
Okay. Oh.
And the next thing, it was a very big turning point in my life though, actually. Because I went onto stage and I was gonna read something. And all of a sudden the letters started turning into squiggles. And the letters it all of a sudden became like animation. And all of a sudden, I could not read off the page. And I had to improvise. And that may have been one of my first improvisational moments, actually. So thank you. So in the spirit of that, let's create a moment of co-creation. As you reflect on Ira and you reflect on this night, on this beautiful new book, which I'm so happy to have. Good to see you, Yuko. I wonder if we can create a collage of words together. I want to just get a couple of words in the atmosphere to play with, to honor Ira, to honor this moment. So who's got a word to throw into the mix? Magician. Magician. Let's get a couple more.
Alchemy.
Alchemy. From the balcony. Yes? What's that? J-Ma. Can you explain for those who may not know? J-Ma. What?
No, because Ira used to recite that beautiful poem about a woman and a fairy going across the Ganga.
Oh. Okay, let's try that. Let's all. Can you sing it once and let's all respond? 1, 2, 3. A magician with intuition, crafting a vision, both ancient and present. Alchemy, a transformation to take words and provide illumination. Fractal breaking, heart entry. From here to another moment, we breathe, we exhale. A sarcophagus breaks open, there are eyes. Inside of the eyes, there's a message. It's on a scroll that was made out of skin, that came out of a breath from a child who witnessed a moment of growth, a growing moment, alone by a river where there is pain and beauty, surrounded by babas and nagas and sadhus and all the people with the good news, and a message is broadcast. The opposite of commodification, the opposite of marketing, the opposite of hollow, inauthentic language, a generosity of spirit, a deep smile. I remember Ira saying, behind every word, there is something I am really trying to tell you. The stakes of breaks in line and phrase, to solve the maze, to allow the minotaur to return to the bull god, a consort to the goddess, to reverse curses, to emerge with new verses. So tonight we honor Ira with a song. Thank you, Ira.
One more time for Baba Ben Israel, please. So as we're about to wrap it up here, y'all know we got the new book on sale, and we also have a book. We have some friends out here from the Netherlands. They have a beautiful creation, many things over there to check out. And speaking of the Netherlands, I just wanted to mention a good friend of mine. It's also a connection to Ira, Eddie Woods. They did many things together, even though they fought like brothers. And as we close it out, I want to bring up Danny Rosen, publisher of Lithic Press, to bring us on home with an Ira piece. So please welcome publisher Danny Rosen.
Some of Ira's words here. Dr. Brown's cough syrup. There's nothing left anywhere. Nothing to be seen, tasted, touched, or heard. There is nothing but the memory trace of something that was. And this is only dimly remembered. One dream that lingers in the mind of a snail falling endlessly through silent space. The man who was in the hammock waiting the changing days no longer exists. There is no snail falling through silent space, nor any trace of any dream. There is nothing left anywhere.
One last time, Danny Rosen. Thank you for a beautiful book. Bobby Yara, Bowery Poetry Club. Thank you all for coming. Please join us tomorrow night. Penny, I'm off the clock. It's you tomorrow night at the bunker, down the streets.
I forgot to mention that we're also having an Ira Cohen Woodstock celebration weekend, Saturday and Sunday. If you are interested to come to Woodstock with poetry Saturday night and film Sunday night.